Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 22nd June 2016. The first article is related to role of Rajya Sabha in Indian parliamentary system. Now, if you take the debates of the Constitution Assembly into consideration, there are three vision unfolded for Rajya Sabha, or three-dimensional vision given for Rajya Sabha. So these include, the Rajya Sabha shall rein in the passions, or else it has to control the emotional fervor developed around surrounding an issue and has to guard against the hasty legislation by Lok Sabha. Because Lok Sabha generally has a tendency to react to the situations that are happening around them. So in this case, it has to calm the nerves of the legislative process and it has to provide for and reasoning for making our long-term vision for a law. And the second thing is, if you clearly observe with regard to this, the diversity of the country has to be reflected in Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is a house which consists of the people from different parts of the country, and then it also protects the interests of the states. And third, Rajya Sabha, along with Lok Sabha, it has to make the executive of the day accountable. And whenever Lok Sabha tried to use its numbers to make the institutions weak or to serve its political purpose, the Rajya Sabha can act as a check against them. In that way, the Rajya Sabha also has a stronger role to facilitate the legislative accountability. And finally, there are certain special functions are given to Rajya Sabha as a protector of the interests of the states. With regard to the removal of the Vice President of India, the process shall be initiated in Rajya Sabha alone. And second is creation of new All India services. And if the Union Parliament has to make a law on a state subject in national interest, a Rajya Sabha approval with two-thirds majority of the members present and voting is necessary. So in this context, under Article 352, when the national emergency is imposed and when Lok Sabha is not in session or it is dissolved, then it is the Rajya Sabha which has to first approve the national emergency. Then once reconstituted, Lok Sabha will be approving the same. So in this way, certain distinctive roles also exist for Rajya Sabha. It means it is not a secondary house, it's a second house in Indian political system. With regard to reining in the passions of the Lok Sabha, it has played this role effectively during the Janata government and then after during NDA 1, UPA 2 and also now in the NDA 2. So in this case, using various tactics to subvert the role of Rajya Sabha is unexpected. And at the same time, if you take the diversity role, recently the Parliament has amended the Representation of People's Act during NDA 1 government Vajpayee era to do away with the local residence clause. Because of this, any person can go to or can get nominated from any state. That is what has happened with regard to recent Rajya Sabha elections. Probably it might compromise the very diversity factor the Rajya Sabha is expected to represent. Coming to yoga going mainstream. Now you know that yoga is not just about a physical exercise, it is about calming down of the nervous factors and also various hormones and neurotransmitters in the body. It is integration of body, mind and attitude. So in this context, the yoga as a therapy, it is of growing significance. But however, there are certain limitations to this. Now, you know that yoga acts on the autonomic nervous system and calms down. And it regulates the epinephrine, norepinephrine and other neurotransmitters. So it has effective control over blood pressure, diabetes, etc. So nowadays integrative therapeutic models have been coming up. But people who support empirical based medicine, they criticize this. The reason is there is no scientific validity for this or scientific research supporting this. Now, most of the empirical medicine, it is dependent on verification of the pharmaceutical mechanisms. But non-pharmaceutical mechanisms such as yoga, there is no clear-cut mechanism of development of empirical data. And the second, the yoga, it is also not one single format. Multiple thoughts, multiple schools, etc. are there for yoga. So bringing in objectivity in analyzing it with basic body parameters is very difficult. So these challenges, if we overcome, yoga can be best supportive therapy for the existing medical practices. And coming to revival of the banks a priority. Now, what is the essence of this article? The Nayak committee has identified that the governance of the banks is the major problem. Political interference is leading to the scandalizing of the actions of the banks and giving loans for the people who are not qualified. So, in this context, what the author argues is today, the banking crisis is not due to governance reforms. There are many other factors. The public sector banks are exposed to the infrastructure more and more. So, as infrastructure itself is losing its pace in the economic growth now, then that is one reason which we got exposed to. Banking sector got exposed to. The same infrastructure sector between 2004 and 2008 is the basic economic, a strong economic engine for growth. And the second thing is, now, the RBI also has kept the inflation targeting is the primary focus. So that's why interest rates are high, which did not allow for the private investments to move in. And the norms for quality assessment review are stress tests conducted by RBI to classify the assets of the banks are very stringent. Because of this, a kind of a crisis was set in the functioning of the banking sector. So that's why we need to see the banking sector and its functioning from a broader whole rather than confining it to a dogmatic argument of governance reforms. Coming to opening of our skies. Now previously 49% is allowed with regard to the airlines. Now it is raised to 100%. Now, because of this, the existing airlines in India which are facing a fund crunch, they can open or they can sell their stakes to the outsiders. So, if this policy is there before, probably Kingfisher like mischief can be avoided. And the second advantage of this is the aviation sector has a target to triple the total number of the people flying by 2022. If it has to be met, more airlines and more fleet has to come into India. It is hopeful that this can bring this change. Now coming to a dangerous game. It is about communalism. In UP, an MP of BJP, Mr. Hukum Singh, made an infamous list of people exuding from the places of Kandla and Kairana in the UP. So in this case, in the western Uttar Pradesh, so in this case, in the Shanli district, if clearly observed, it is not an communal exodus, but it is more about searching for the better opportunities. And also, most of these people, they are, still staying in that particular place. And so it means we need to work for a better system in our existing country, or else whenever communal tensions are need to be flared up using these particular divides, it need to be taken into serious consideration. And the exodus, it is based on communal, not on communal factors, but based on the law and order situation. So these problems, the systemic problems of law and order need to be addressed rather than giving a communal color to the problem. Coming to NSG entry. Now China is the block with regard to the India's NSG entry as the things unfold. And USA is using its diplomatic might to push India into NSG. India is fulfilling all the norms of the NSG guidelines other than membership of entry into nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So in this case, in bringing the parity with Pakistan is one thing China is doing, and it is also prescribing a process for entry of the non-NPT members rather than giving a uniform or exception to India. So in this case, the Prime Minister of India, Modi, is going to meet Xi Jinping in Tashkent on sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Probably it will be the last pitch for India to take the Chinese support for its entry into NSG. Now, FDI in defense sector is allowed for 100% in modern technology. So it is already giving its dividends. The Lockheed Martin, which manufactures F-16s, it is going to establish its manufacturing facility in India. So it means it's a positive step for the FDIs in India. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much.